Yo, what's going on? It's me, Jay, here to talk about a topic that I wanted to touch on when it first happened, but I'm glad I waited. 2 months ago, Candace Owens officially left the Daily Wire, a Ben Shapiro's news website that she has been on for about, I'd say about 3 or 4 years, give or take, and she was one of its top stars. And her and the Daily Wire parted ways. Pretty much anybody that has, at least what's going on, anybody that has followed Candace Owens for any length of time, um, and like I have when she was on the Daily Wire, I started watching it when it first became a thing. I was watching the Daily Wire before she was on there, but when she got her show on the Daily Wire, I watched a few episodes. She would cover different topics here and there, and it pretty much was what it was. I agreed with some of it. I disagreed with most of it. I ain't gonna lie because I tend to my political leanings tend to lean to the left rather than the right, and of course Candace is on the right. Now, Candace is somebody that on this channel we have been uh, highly critical of. That she's an opportunist, that she says what she's paid to say basically by her donors, whether they be PragerU at first and then later on the Daily Wire. But she has finally broke her silence with regards to them and she just ethered them. You know what I mean? Like she came out full guns blazing. Now what happened, she doesn't go into what exactly happened, but many people know behind the scenes what really went on. What happened was that after October 7th, she started to disagree with the official stance that the Daily Wire took on the Gaza situation. She started to side with the Gazans, with the Palestinians, and they didn't like that. So then okay, yeah, hashtag Candace Owens. We'll fix that up later, at least after I'm done. Uh, then she started to. She had this rabbi on the show, and the rabbi and her, they had an exchange and they went back and forth. But before she even had the rabbi, Ben Shapiro went on uh, the internet and he said that she was out of line. He started talking against her. So then, during this interview with the rabbi, she said the phrase "Christ is King." So in this video, she doesn't address anything with the big boss, with Ben Shapiro himself. She addresses the beef with Andrew Klavan, which I found very interesting because Andrew Klavan, and she shows this in the video, Andrew Klavan is a man of Jewish descent. He's another presenter on the Daily Wire. It's Andrew Klavan, Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, and her. That's the and now Brett Cooper from uh, with her own show, another girl. The one they say is Ben Shapiro's sister, but she's not actually Ben Shapiro's sister. She just looks like Ben Shapiro. Ben Shapiro's sister does have her own YouTube channel, but she's not on the Daily Wire. But anyway, um, she's in the Daily Wire. This girl is in the Daily Wire remake of Snow White. That they're doing in response to the woke version of Snow White that Disney is doing. But anyway, that's the staff. She doesn't address the big boss Ben Shapiro, who's basically the star of the Daily Wire, who basically started the Daily Wire, back about 4 or 5 years ago now, before Candace was on there. She addresses Andrew Klavan. And why I think the Andrew Klavan thing is interesting, in my opinion, because he says that she dog whistled. That what a dog whistle is when somebody says something without saying it. You know what I mean? Like, for example, I'll give you an example. Ronald Reagan was accused of dog whistling um, uh, during his tenure as president against black people. For example, when he started his campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi, where free freedom fighters, Andrew Goodman, James Chaney, and Michael Schwarmer were murdered. He was accused of a dog whistle then. He was also accused of a dog whistle. A dog whistle is saying something without actually saying it. It comes from the fact that dogs can hear certain whistles that human beings cannot. So racist, anti-Semites, bigoted people might hear the same thing that someone else is saying, but they'll be able to interpret it in their own bigoted ways. So basically, he was accusing Candace Owens of using the phrase Christ is King as an anti Semitic dog whistle against him, who's a man of Jewish descent. But here's an interesting fact about Andrew Klavan. Andrew Klavan is a man of Jewish descent, but Andrew Klavan is a Christian. Andrew Klavan is a Jewish Christian. He is a man of Jewish descent who converted to Christianity. You know what I mean? But he was accusing Candace of using this as a dog whistle against himself and Ben Shapiro, who is an Orthodox Jew. Now, this phrase is used by Nick Fuentes, who is a well known and avowed anti Semite, somebody who praises Hitler and who praises Nazis and all that sort of jazz. But the fact that Andrew Klavan is saying that the phrase itself, not in the way that it was used, but the phrase itself is anti Semitic, is an indication to me that he might not be the strongest Christian in the pact. Because what Christian, what person of the Christian faith would disagree that the statement that Christ is king? You know what I mean? She's not saying it towards Ben Shapiro because she herself believes that, believes in anti-Semitism. She's saying it as an affirmation for her faith. Candace Owens is recently converted to Catholicism, and before that, she was adamant about being a strong evangelical Christian. You know what I mean? And then he and Matt Walsh both Andrew Klavan and Matt Walsh both tried to attack her in trying to indicate that she's an anti-Semite because she said that this Jewish psychologist who the Nazis burned his books during the 1940s was a pervert. Now, this guy was a pervert. This guy, the man that she's talking about, did advocate for pedophilia and other things. So saying that a person of Jewish descent is a pervert is not in and of itself anti-Semitic, right? If I said Jeffrey Epstein was a pervert and Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile, does that make me anti-Semitic? No, no more than it makes me racist if I said that P. Diddy was a pervert and P. Diddy was a pedophile, because P. Diddy is a pedophile and P. Diddy happens to be black. That doesn't make me anti-black. Doesn't make me anti-Jewish if I said that Jeffrey Epstein is. That's stupid. That's dumb, right? So everything that they've got and she brings up this point too, everything that they've got against her is stuff that they always denounce the left for doing. They always denounce the left for looking for looking for racism when there is no racism, looking for innuendos, looking for um, microaggressions, they call them, right? In the SJW spaces, the intersectional spaces, they call them microaggressions, looking for hidden forms of racism. Well, they're doing the same thing with anti-Semitism. They're doing the exact same thing with anti-Semitism. They are looking for anti-Semitic remarks. With I feel like there are no anti-Semitic remarks. I don't feel like she's anti-Semitic. But of course, they say everybody is anti-Semitic that is against Israel. That's what they're not addressing in this. That it's not that she said something that was anti-Semitic. She wasn't going out there giving the Hitler salute, whereas some people like Richard Spencer, who did it in 2016, that the right defends, right? That Ben Shapiro's old magazine and old boss, the late Andrew Breitbart, defended. Milo Yiannopoulos defended Richard Spencer and the alt right when they went out and did this. They defended the uh, the Charlottesville march in 2017, and these people were not hiddenly anti-Semitic. They were not covertly anti-Semitic. They were outright anti-Semites, right? You had David Duke marching in the Charlottesville. You had, like I said, Richard Spencer, Matthew Heimbach, these individuals, and they were cool with that. Even Ben Shapiro wearing the yarmulke and everything, supposedly being an outward uh, Jewish, proud Jewish person, he was cool with that. But as soon as they spoke against the right wing sacred cow, the right wing, um, the thing that triggers right wing SJWs, because there's SJWs on both sides of the aisles, not just the left. The left has their sacred cows, things that trigger them, what they perceive as bigotry against people of color, bigotry against LGBT people, and the right has theirs. And one of the things that triggers the right is what they perceive to be as anti-Israel propaganda, right? Anything that's anti-Israel. So she was cool. It was cool when she was defaming Black Lives Matter. It was cool when she was defaming the LGBT community. It was cool when she was attacking pop culture figures like Taylor Swift and Ariana Grande and attacking feminism. But as soon as she starts attacking the things that they hold dear, the things that they find hold sacred, particularly Israel, because they care. These people at the Daily Wire, whether they're Jewish or non-Jewish, they're the people on the right wing in general, the government officials on the right wing, the political officials on the right wing, they care more about Israel than they care about the United States of America. They're willing to risk American lives for the sake of Israel. They're willing to give all the money that we have in this country that we need for the people, the citizens of this country, to Israel. The same way they were attacking the left for doing it with Ukraine, they do it too with Israel. The left, the Democrats do it too, but the Democrats are trying to cater to both sides because they consider Palestinians and Arabs as people of color, and they don't want to alienate the people of color base in an effort to reach out to the Jewish base. But the right doesn't care. See, Ben Shapiro says facts don't care about your feelings, right? But he only says that when it comes to things that don't have anything to do with Israel or Jewish people. Someone attacks Israel or Jewish people, and they're on the right, they get completely ignored, right? It could be somebody that, like the person who shot up the Tree of Life synagogue in 2018, a right winger, who shot up the Poway Chabad house in 2018 in San Diego, that was anti-Jewish, and it was on the right wing, but the Daily Wire completely ignored it, right? The mainstream right completely ignored it, but let it be a leftist person, or let it be somebody like Candace Owens, right? Who had an independent mind for once, and who spoke up for once for her own self and her own self-interest. She felt that this was wrong. She felt that what the Israelis were doing in Gaza was wrong, specifically bombing that children's hospital, which she spoke about, and she spoke up against it. And because she spoke up against it, much like everybody else who has ever dared, Jewish or non-Jewish, to speak up against anything that Israel has ever done, as if Israel's a perfect country, which it is not. No country is perfect. They completely call into question, and they completely make you out to be mustache man, and they completely make you out to be a Nazi and a white supremacist if you say anything against Israel. We've seen this since the 1980s. even probably before then, but I'm pointing out one specific incident that I remember in the 1980s when Jesse Jackson was running for president of the United States in 1984. Uh, he happened to say something off the record to another journalist that New York was Jaime Town, and they completely came against him. And they continuously have taken the words of someone like Minister Farrakhan out of context and tried to make Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam seem like they are anti-Semitic, even though Minister Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam have sat down numerous times with Jewish leaders. But this is what they do. They did it to Kanye, right? They 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 crucify, for lack of a better term, people who speak against the policies of the state of Israel, or how Jewish people just interject themselves into um, the political goings on of whatever host nation that they happen to be in. You know what I mean? And they came for Candace Owens too. So but anyway, I'm glad that she is on her own now. I'm glad that I'm probably gonna disagree with 99% of what she has to say. You know what I mean? But for her to be stifled like this, for her to be labeled as an anti-Semite, because you realize the kind of libel that this is saying. You know, do you realize what they're actually insinuating? They're actually putting Candace Owens on the same level as a genocidal, the most evil man in the 20th century. You know what I'm saying? And that's really low for them because they're supposed to be the logic channel. They're supposed to be the facts don't care about your feelings channel. They are supposed to think this thing through. But no, when it comes to Palestinians, when it comes to Arabs, when it comes to the Arab Israeli conflict, there's no objectivity in the Daily Wire. They don't look at it objectively. They completely hate Muslims and they completely hate Islam. And I think Candace Owens, despite being a strong Christian, despite believing that Christ is king and declaring that vociferously, as she does, and she should because that's her faith, she understands Muslims and she doesn't hate Muslims. We saw with the interview with Andrew Tate last year that I covered in this channel that she was open to Andrew Tate expressing his faith, expressing his belief in the Muslim religion. And she didn't shoot him down like Ben Shapiro would. I think he contacted her out of everybody in the Daily Wire because she was the most objective. And even with Kanye, when Kanye said what he said, um, the comments that he made that he was blacklisted for, she was prevented from interviewing him. And then on this channel, she interviews him again, and she hasn't explained his side of the story. Now he feels like he was sabotaged by the Jewish elite in entertainment. It's not a myth that the entertainment industry is completely surrounded by Jewish people. It's a fact. You know what I mean? It's a fact because early in American history there was tremendous anti-Semitism, and Jewish people were blocked from certain professions, but they weren't blocked from Hollywood. Just as in Europe, the same thing. They were blocked from all other professions. They weren't blocked from banking, so they became heavily involved in banking. That's not an anti-Semitic libel. That's not. You can't put that on the level with the blood libels that they were accused of in the Middle Ages, right? You can't. It's not the same thing. You know what I mean? It's not a lie. It happens to be true. It comes out of the anti-Semitism of our society, which there is real. When you label anything, any little thing, as racist or anti-Semitic that you don't agree with, and then you start saying, "Oh, well, these are hidden meanings of anti-Semitism, hidden meanings of racism," right? Then it cheapens and it devalues um, actual instances of racism, right? But the interesting thing too about Candace is she got what she deserves. You know what I mean? You lay down with bugs, and don't be surprised if you get bitten. She was cuddling up for years to not only Ben Shapiro, not only Andrew Clavin, but Dennis Prager. And then when she finally spoke her mind, she gets paid to speak her mind and say what she feels. But there are certain things that she should know that are off limits that you don't speak about. Israel's one of them because Ben Shapiro is Mr. Israel. Ben Shapiro would sacrifice the United States to go to war for Israel. And this is not a war of self defense because they're not only attacking Hamas, they're attacking civilians, they're attacking everyone. And as Bassem Youssef said, if it was only about Hamas, why are they attacking the West Bank where Hamas is not even in charge? You know what I mean? But automatically, if you say something like that, you automatically branded as an anti-Semite. You automatically put on the level. Okay, the Twitter video Lisa's talking about. In the Twitter video, I didn't watch the whole Twitter video. I mainly wanted to really focus Lisa on this, uh, what she was saying in the YouTube video. But I'll touch a little bit on uh, uh, on the Twitter video and about sabotage. Yeah, one of the things they tried to do, one of the things they tried to do was sabotage her on all her social media platforms. You know what I mean? They tried to bully her. They tried to get her canceled on all of her social media platforms and tried to really make her look like the bad guy. That's why she took so long to come out with something. I initially thought that she wasn't going to return to commentary because of what they did. You know, I mean, they have tremendous power when it comes to uh, their sway in the conservative movement, and particularly Ben Shapiro, because he's looked at as a champion of the new right. You know what I mean? And taking him on is something big for her. But we'll talk about the other video. Hold on, Lisa. Oh yeah. Thank you, Lisa, for reminding me about that. When she got fired, she started to make the rounds of all the black podcasts, particularly Breakfast Club, uh, Black Twitter. I'll talk about the one on Breakfast Club because that's the one I saw. And Black folks ain't really forgiving her. You know what I mean? Gary Owens, no relation. Gary Owens, a comedian, a white comedian that frequents black spaces. He he made fun of this. And, this caught my eye too when Jess Hilarious, Envy, and Charlemagne, the host of the Breakfast Club, said, uh, "God is good," and she didn't know the proper response all the time. You know, what I mean, they're trying to show how alienated she was from the particularly black mainstream, but she started to get, want to get back and to cozy up to black Twitter spaces because the white people, but they wasn't having it. I think somebody that will have her look for a can, and if it happens, I don't know if it will, but if it happens, we will cover it on this channel. Look for a Candace Owens interview on Vlad TV. Vlad TV will pick up a 10 part or 12 part in little pieces a Candace Owens interview. Watch, he'll jump on it. You know what I mean? Because that's what he does. Vlad is another guy who he'll try to, and he makes the interview about himself anyway, all the time. You know, supposedly he turned down Andrew Tate, which I don't believe. I don't believe that Andrew Tate ever approached him about an interview. You know what I mean? Like, maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but come on. Vlad takes everybody. Vlad has had murderers on his channel. He's had gangsters on his channel. He's had yeah. Or a porn. Lisa says he won't interview her because she's not a rap thug or a rapper or a porn star. At least, he's had everybody. So when he took a couple of years ago, I mean, it was the last year, whenever Andrew Tate's allegations came out of the drug trafficking thing, Vlad supposedly took the high road and said, I'll interview anybody, but I'm never interviewing. I'll never interview Andrew Tate. You know, Joe Rogan, that'd be another one. But in the black space, you either have Vlad TV or you have the Breakfast Club. She's already done the Shade Room. You have Clubhouse, which is Black 100. You have Adam 22, No Jumper podcast. He may get her. He's like the little Vlad. He's like, okay, if Vlad is BT, uh, No Jumper is like TV1. No Jumper gets either the people that Vlad has already gotten or some of the people that Vlad don't care about that are not as relevant. He'll get. Adam 22 will get No Jumper. You know, but don't be surprised.
Turn the AC off in the room, okay?
Okay.
Was it turned off before?
No.
It's been on running all this time, right?
Yeah.
I feel cool in the house.
Oh, she was on the Shade Room? I didn't know that. Lisa says she's on. They've been on the Shade Room and they weren't having it. They were just posting her comments, but they didn't care. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too familiar with a lot of the podcasts in the black female space. But it'd be interesting to see because problem is she's been on the wrong side for so long that people don't trust her. That she's changed, that she's turned over a new leaf. You know, and now she's a woman. She's a woman with no friends because you've alienated that side. What I mean? Ben Shapiro has so much influence on that side of the podcast world, the white side, if you will, the Joe Rogans, the Dave Rubins, uh, those spaces. And on the black side, nobody wants to hear from her because she said, yeah, Kanye West likes her because nobody likes Kanye West. These major podcast people, they won't touch Kanye West, the Vlads, the Adam 22s, even the Alex Joneses, even the Joe Rogans. Joe Rogan did touch Kanye West, but that was before he said the Jewish thing. Once he said the Jewish thing, now he's off from everybody. In other words, it's showing you could talk all you want about black folks and they'll love you for it. But as soon as you touch one of the things that they care about, the Jewish community, that's it. You're done. You know, you're done. You can't go on Logan Paul because he's a friend of Trump now. He's buddies with Trump. You can't go on Joe Rogan. He's buddies with Trump. You can't go on maybe the Club Shay Shay. Club Shay Shay is an option. I don't know if uh, she's checked out Shannon Sharp yet. What I mean? His stuff is blowing up. Um, Let me see what are the other bigger podcasts in this realm of Joe Button. Not gonna touch her. Not gonna care about her. Um, so it's nobody. What I mean? The black podcast, they're like, oh, fuck you. You know what I mean? Unless you apologize for the things that you've said about Black Lives Matter and about George Floyd and about every other black cause since you've been on the goddamn internet since 2016, they're not going to, we're not taking you back. And the white people have completely canceled you. So now you're a woman by yourself. You know what I mean? You're a one woman army. You have no friends and no allies anywhere. You got people coming at you from all sides. So who's gonna support you? You only got the hardcore of the hardcore, the Nick Fuentes and the other people that hate Jewish people and black people, and those people are all canceled. you know, you know, you know what I mean. So all you got is Kanye. All you got is Nick Fuentes. You know, maybe Fresh and Fit, but they're completely banned off YouTube. So that you're not going to be on their show, Fresh and Fit. Andrew Tate and his brother, they'll probably have you on their thing because they're cool with you and stuff. But they only have a limited following. Their stuff is mostly on TikTok, right? Um, you just alienated everybody. Every single podcast and every single group that will have you no longer cares about you because of the things that you've said. You know what I mean? So you either disavow the things that you've said or you try and create a new space. And the thing is, this has happened before. This happened with Dave Rubin, right? Dave Rubin used to be on the Young Turks, and he got kicked off the Young Turk because he started to say things that were not in line with their political ideology. But he completely shifted, and then he became a complete Trump shill. First, he was open-minded. He was allowing everybody on his show, what he called everybody, but was really just Republican talking heads. And then he completely did a 180 and became a complete Republican all the way. Joe Rogan too. Joe Rogan, he was open minded. Supposedly, he was allowing everybody on the show, but he wasn't really allowing everybody on the show because everybody he was allowing on the show was all Republicans, and now he's a complete Trump shill as well. Logan Paul too. They're completely kissing Trump's ass. You know what I mean? Which Candace Owens is too. But I just want to see and want to watch the next coming weeks. What is Kansas' attitude going to be? You know, maybe the View will have her on the show, but even they won't have her on the show because even they don't like her like that. You know what I mean? So she's out with old media, TV. She's out with new media, internet. So she's nowhere. She's a woman by herself. She's up there with the Andrew Tates and the people like that they don't have anybody really vouching for them. You know, you're not gonna go on Fox News and be an analyst because you said the thing about Israel. You're not gonna go on MS. See, Megan Kelly, when Megan Kelly had the falling out with Trump, she went over to MSNBC. They took her, right? But she's mainstream. She didn't start off on the internet. So MSNBC took her until she defended blackface, and then they got rid of her. And now she's back with the Republicans. And now she is kissing up to Trump as well. Everybody that was anti-Trump in 2016, like Ben Shapiro, like Megyn Kelly, like even Marco Rubio. There's talk about Marco Rubio being Trump's vice president. Now, if Marco, this is completely off topic, but if Marco Rubio be Trump's vice president, what does that say about Marco? Does he have any balls? Does he have any guts? Does he have any integrity? That he'll align himself with a man who talked shit about him, who completely made fun of him in 2016? But of course, none of them do, right? Look at Chris Christie. He's another example. Talking shit about Trump, then kissing Trump's ass. There you go. After January the 6th, he goes back to kissing. He goes back to talking shit about Trump. So it'd be interesting to see who Candace Owens has on as a guest on her podcast. She's not going to be access to the true, uh, the real. Yeah, I saw. I didn't watch it at least, but I saw it. Pierce Morgan's another motherfucker that he started off anti-Trump. He started off. Remember that old interview with him and Ben Shapiro where they were talking about gun control, and Ben Shapiro walked off, and now he's all for Trump. Now he's attacking people, calling people Hamas supporters, saying that anybody that disagrees with Israel's actions after October 7th is a Hamas supporter. He's another motherfucker that, okay, they were really Republicans all along, but they didn't want to come out and say it, so because it wasn't popular at the time, and now they've jumped completely on the Trump bandwagon and the Republican bandwagon. They're opportunists, kind of like Candace Owens. Candace Owens, to me, was always somebody who I felt like she was. this is the first time in a long time that I feel like she's being genuine, that she's actually saying what she truly believes. Because I feel like sometimes she just says shit because she thinks that's what Republicans are supposed to say. You know what I mean? She doesn't actually believe it. And Joe Rogan brought that up to her years ago when she was on his show. She said, he said, you're attractive, you're black, you're a young girl, and you're a Republican. And a lot of these guys, they're just liking you because you're attractive and you're saying what they want to hear, right? Like all these other talking head uh, women, basically like a black Tommy Lahren. What happens when your card runs out and you say something that they don't agree with? Brandon Tatum, the same thing. What if Brandon Tatum said something against Israel, right? He'd be canceled just like Candace Owens, right? Because they don't love you. They only love you for as much as they can use you, right? And when it comes to even with Vlad, he was cool with everything. He was cool with Lord Jamar. When him and Lord Jamar were friends, he was cool with Lord Jamar talking about other black rappers. He was cool with the homophobic stuff. But as soon as it got to the sensitive subject of Israel and the sensitive subject of Jewish people, Vlad completely threw Lord Jamar under the bus. We have a video on it talking about the Vlad incident with Louis Farrakhan. Same thing here. It's like they only love you for as much as they can use you. When they can't use you anymore and you've outdone your usefulness, then they don't want to deal with you anymore. When they feel like you've stepped out of line, when you've said something that was too far, then they no longer care about your cause because you're supposed to only speak on the things that you're supposed to speak on. Lyndon Johnson was this way with Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. was fine, uh, going down to Selma for voting rights or marching to integrate lunch counters in South Carolina, right? In North Carolina. But as soon as he started to speak about international affairs, something that was beyond black stuff, he was Candace Owens basically. You know, they didn't like they did Candace Owens when she's no longer speaking about black stuff because in their minds, look, the channel pays you to speak about black issues and black issues only. Just like how LBJ wanted Martin Luther King Jr. to speak only about black issues, but as soon as he spoke against the injustices of the Vietnam War and spoke against the U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War, then he was canceled in the most literal way possible. He was murdered. And while Candace wasn't murdered, physically, they shut her out and tried to cancel her politically because they feel that black voices should only speak on black issues and nothing else. When it comes to international issues, they're not to speak on that. So as long as Candace Owens was bashing black folks over the head and she was talking bad about black folks and talking bad about Black Lives Matter and throwing them under the bus, she was cool in their eyes because she was saying the things that they wanted to hear, right? But as soon as she stepped out of line, as soon as she said something that was not agreeable to their agenda, then she was gone and canceled. And it's been like this with basically every white platform, liberal or conservative, that's put a black voice up there. They want black voices to be in line with what they say. And when black voices, right or left, or independent black voices, and they speak out against things that don't what the mainstream white establishment, right or left, feels doesn't concern them, they're immediately canceled, sometimes physically. when they become too big for their britches, as it were. You know, right? Lisa says that's why BET was so important, right? Because it gave black people an independent voice. But they'll not just do that to. They'll not just do that to uh, black folks. They'll do it to one of their own too. They did it to Eminem. Eminem was the hero of the trailer park contingency. The Republicans, the people that voted for Trump, they felt like, oh, well, Eminem, if anybody will understand what we're going through, Eminem will understand. He'll side with Trump because he's all about free speech. When Eminem came out and Eminem disagreed with Trump and even dissed Trump in that BET Cypher years back, he was gone. He was canceled. You know what I mean? Oh, all of a sudden he's a pussy. He lost his edge. He's scared to speak. He's not scared to speak. He's just not speaking about the things that you want him to speak about. So now he's no good in your eyes. You know what I mean? But when he was in the '90s, when he was in the early 2000s, when he was bashing gay people, then you loved him, right? True, yeah, that's what I'm saying, Lise. They put him. What Mike Tyson said to him on Mike Tyson's podcast is true, and Eminem didn't even try to fight it. He just laughed at it and he agreed with it. Mike Tyson said to Eminem, he said, "You're the only white boy in this world that knows what it's like to be treated like an N-word because of how your own community turned on you." And Eminem didn't even try to say, "Nah, that Mike, that ain't true." You know what I mean? He laughed at it because he was canceled. Yeah, hot boxing with Mike Tyson is because they thought that Trump and Eminem were on the same page. That Eminem would, oh, he's definitely going to be a Trump supporter because he, is white and he speaks out against the LGBTQ community and everything. He's for free speech. But when he wasn't, they're like, wait a minute, what? He's a traitor, right? Because they say, oh, well, he didn't say anything against Obama, right? And he's supposed to be. But they were never listening to Eminem's music. Eminem, the first song he ever came out with that was political, he came out with against George Bush in 2004, Mosh, right? He never said anything against Obama because, one, when Obama was president, Eminem mostly wasn't making music. You know what I mean? That's when he was going through his personal issues. Two, Eminem is obviously a Democrat. Come on, look at where he grew up and look at the things that he saw. He saw the ineffectiveness of the Republican economic policies within his own community in 8 Mile, right? Why would he support that? What do you think he was Kid Rock? You know, I mean, I know they were friends starting off, but they kind of funny about them. They started off the same, right? But Kid Rock kind of went completely a batshit crazy type racist and shit. And Eminem, is more democratic. But then again, Kid Rock grew up rich, and he's only using the poor white experience as a way to make money in the same way that as a come up, in the way he was the same way he was in the initial part, the first part of his career was using the 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 black experience. And he was doing blackface. Now he's doing poor whiteface. You know, he's pretending to be y'all, but he's not y'all. You know what I mean? Just like he was pretending to be us, but he's not us. You know what I mean? This is what people do. This is what Candace Owens did. You know what I mean? She put on a mask. She put on a face. You really believe that a lot of her opinions were her actual opinions? No, she started off as anti-Trump. She started off in a magazine that was making fun of Donald Trump, right? But when she found out she could make more money by bashing black people and by bashing Black Lives Matter and by bashing the left, when that became popular, when that became in vogue, that's what she did, right? Not because she actually believed it, but because it was something popular to do. Right, exactly. And that goes into something that Tariq Nasheed would often, and Kendrick Lamar. Candace Owens is not African American. Candace Owens is of Caribbean descent. She's black, but she's not of African American lineage. She doesn't come from an African American family, even though she says she does. She's from a Caribbean family. Now, not to say that there's anything wrong with Caribbean people. Of course, Caribbean people are black just like African Americans. But the point is that Tariq Nasheed often brings up the immigrant populations will often look down on black people from the United States. You know what I mean? As less than, right? So, and just being black in general, all skin folk ain't kinfolk. You see that with Drake. Drake was cosplaying, Drake was pretending. Now, I'm a big fan, again, but Drake was pretending. Drake was the experience that Drake was communicating to his audience was not his true experience. He was pretending. He was just like Candace Owens, pretending, putting on a show. It's not really who they are. It's a pretend. It's to fool people, right? Just like Trump. You think Trump actually cares about his constituency? That he actually gives a fuck about the people, the poor white trash that votes for him? No, he looks down on y'all. Would he ever invite you to a party? Would he ever invite you to a picnic? Would he ever shake hands with you? No, of course he wouldn't. You know what I mean? Because he looks down on y'all. He considers y'all as to be suckers, to be rubes, to be marks, as wrestlers call used to call their fans, the marks, the suckers, the people that buy into our bullshit. Now, a lot of people are becoming more politically aware and seeing into this. But with Candace, I saw it. Oh, I always saw it. You know what I mean? She tried to initially position herself within the mainstream of the Republican Party, but as we covered in a video, she wasn't invited to speak at the RNC. That year, 2020, right? When Trump was running for his reelection. So she was out with the mainstream Republican Party. So then after the mainstream Republican Party, she went to this alternate Republican Party, which is like they consider themselves to be in disagreement with the Republican officials that are elected to govern, right? And, you know, now she's out with them. So who's she with now? Nobody, you know? But hey, I don't really feel sorry for her because, you reap what you sow. Anyway, Lisa, thank you for contributing. Hit the bell button to see when my next video is coming out. Love you guys. Peace. And Candace Owens, I'll be watching our new channel. She's now selling mugs, woke, right tears. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Love you guys. But she seems like she's the one crying. They're not missing her; she's missing them. Yo, Peter, what's good, man? You called me just in time. I just got off the internet doing a video. Nah, Candace Owens leaving the Daily Wire. Yeah, what do you think of it? Well, you're sick. You're sick. Yeah, man. We didn't get it. We didn't get a chance to do that thing with Sean and Elliot. Nah, man, not really, man. I mean, I don't know what they're up to, but it's better with us. Oh wow, you saw it. Yeah. No, no, no. Yeah, but let me know what you think about it. Man. Pretty good. They should do a series of that, misquoting Buddha, all that. Or did he even actually? Or did he even actually? Did he did he even actually exist? Do you think that Buddha did exist? Do you think that Muhammad existed? Do you think that Muhammad existed? So you think they all existed? So I guess the closer you get to modern times, it's more believable that the person existed. So that's an interesting question. Do you think Abraham existed? Hold on, Peter. Lisa's calling me. I'll call you back. All right? Yeah. Oh, I am. How am I on YouTube?